I am a physical therapist here, and today I'm going to take you through some lower body exercises, 4 of them to be exact. We'll go through them as I would typically go through them, and then I'm going to cut 2 different sections of them and tell you how to make them harder or easier if that needs to be done. So typically we would do these 4 exercises one right after the other without stopping. We're going to do a front lunge, then we're going to do a bridge, then we're going to do an air squat, then we're going to finish off with calf raises without stopping. So we're going to start with the front lunge. Core stability is important. So if you don't know how to tighten up your core, just think about somebody's going to punch you, just tighten that up. We always want to be aware of our core. That'll be a question for you later as to why. And if you answer that, you can get a free t-shirt. All right, so set the core, front lunge. Alternating legs. Typically, I would run through 10 or 15 of those for myself. All right, so now we're going to go right into the bridge. Okay, so here we go. Again, core stability, core tight. There's your bridge. So we've gone through the lunges, the bridges, now we're going to move into the air squat. Stance width, whatever you're comfortable, typically about shoulder. I generally like mine a little wider. Coming from a powerlifting background, I have a wide squat stance. Again, core stability. You're going to sit back, squat it down. And that's your air squat. All right, so we've gone through the lunges, the bridges, the air squats. We're moving immediately into the calf raises. At home, I would just use a countertop for support here. I'm going to hold on to this machine. And those are our calf raises. So typically I would go through that 4 series of exercises at least twice. You can certainly do it 3 times if you want. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make each exercise easier or more difficult if that's where you need to be. So we're going to look at making the exercises easier or more difficult. 3 ways you can typically do that. You can change the range of motion, so you go through more range or less range. You can change the intensity by squeezing more or less. And of course, you can change the number of repetitions you do. Those are all ways you can make it easier or more difficult. So lunge, to make the lunge more easy, we can use a little support and we can change the range. So a typical lunge that we would do would look like this, full range, and up. Well, here I've got a little support and I can change my range. So now it's easier. I'm still working essentially the same muscles, but if I'm not ready for the full lunge, this will get me there. Now, if I'm going to make that lunge more difficult, I'll show you the back lunge. We're going to step back, and now when we come up, we're going to squeeze the butt. We're going to squeeze the butt. It's almost like you're trying to give yourself a cramp in your butt. That will make it more intense. Now the front lunge will essentially be the same, except we're going to squeeze the quad. We're going to squeeze. You're going to squeeze that muscle. And that'll increase your intensity. Of course, more repetitions always makes it more difficult. All right, now we go to the bridge. I'm going to show you the harder and easier version. There's actually 2 ways to make the bridge harder, so I'll show you both of them, and there's 1 way to make the bridge easier. So here we go. Again, core. We got to have that core stable. Easier way to make the bridge is what? Reduce your range of motion. Really, that's about it. So instead of bringing the hips up, we're just going to bring the hips up. That's it. So we're just going to reduce our range of motion. Still working the same muscles, just through a shorter and easier range. To make the bridge more difficult, a couple things we can do. First one I would pick would be bridge up with both, extend and hold. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Or if you want to make it really 3. So those are the ways you can make the bridge easier or harder. All right, we're going to do calf raises. I'm going to show you how to make it more difficult. Really not much of a way to make them easier. I suppose if you were on the countertop, you could push yourself up to make it easier. But if you have steps at home, I've got a 2x4 here. If you have steps at home, you can certainly do them off the end of the step, of course holding onto the rail so you don't fall. You can also do just on a flat floor. You can do them just 1 leg at a time. Don't forget to do both sides, otherwise you'll be walking around in a circle eventually. Or, like I have this 2x4 here, that's going to give me more range of motion, which we talked about earlier. Make it more difficult, go through a bigger range of motion. So it's the same movement, but now I go through a bigger range of motion. Again, that makes it more difficult. So if I was standing on the end of the step, I'd have even a bigger range of motion. And again, I can do 1 leg at a time. And if I really want to kill myself, I can hold that and squeeze it. 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 3. So just other ways to make it more difficult. All right, so we've gone through the 4 exercises, and I'll tell you, do them one right after the other. Now, ways you can increase the intensity of that, if you really want to be crazy about it, you could do 10 reps, 9 reps, 8 reps, 7 reps, 6 reps, 5 reps, 4 reps, 3 reps, 2 reps, 1 rep, going through all 4 of those if that's what you want to do. That would be pretty intense. But just think, I can make it more difficult by doing more reps, by squeezing harder, squeezing tighter. I can also make it easier doing less reps, less range. Biggest thing is comfortable. It should never hurt. You always want to be safe when you're doing it. Remember, always be aware of what your core is doing. And if you let me know why you want to be aware of what your core is doing, we'll send you a t-shirt. So you can just hit us up and tell us why you want to have your core tight. Greg Schroeder from Wieber Physical Therapy. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to call, send an email, post it on the site. Thanks.